Hi, Atom&Matter family. Welcome back to our interview series. So this is a new series to our brand where basically we have a little one-on-one chat with different people in my life that mean a lot to me, that inspire me, and that I think would be great to learn from for all of us. So it's just a nice little combo that we get to just chat, be inspired, and all that good stuff. So for this episode, I wanted to bring in somebody that I absolutely adore and am very inspired by as an artist. My friend Lindsey Stirling, if you're not familiar with her, which I'm sure you probably are, she is an incredible violinist. She's a songwriter. She's a dancer. She's really done it all. She's toured the world. She released a documentary in 2017 that was insanely beautiful. And yeah, she's just an incredible person, an incredible artist. She's a good friend of mine now. We've lived together. Fun fact, we were roommates for a little bit in like 2018. And that's also when I realized she's such a beautiful person inside and out. So I wanted to bring her into the interviews so we could get to know her a little bit more and be inspired in our careers and our personal life and all of that. So without further ado, Lindsey Stirling, everybody.
Woo, woo, woo. Wow, what a stellar intro. Thank you, Bethany.
Thank you. I'm getting better at my little intros.
Oh, you nailed it. It was very good. It made me feel so loved.
Yours was easy. I'm like, she's done it all. Like, that's all we need to say.
Also, it's fun that you can be like, and my, like, a roommate. Like, it's kind of crazy to me when I'm like, oh yeah, we've like known each other in so many different capacities, from like peers on YouTube to like, inspiring each other to like being roommates. So it's so fun.
I literally forget that we were roommates so many times. I'm like, whoa, that really did happen. It was honestly so great. I remember waking up one morning and just like hearing you play your violin. And I was like, what dream is this? Like, it was so beautiful. I was so grateful.
It was such a nice, and also I feel like things come into our lives when we need them. And it was very serendipitous how we both kind of ended up living together. And I just think it was a chapter of my life where like I really needed that. And so, anyways, I just feel like you were brought into my life at a time when I needed you. So I'm grateful for that.
Aw, I feel the same way. It did feel very like, whoa, we're roommates, and it just like all fell into place. So yeah, we could just jump into it. So my first question, this is like more career based because I know we have a lot of people watching that are pursuing their own dreams in whatever field that may be. So my first question is, what inspired you to pursue music?
I feel like it kind of happened in stages for me. Like I've loved music from the time I was like a tiny child, and I started playing the violin when I was 6 because I wanted to, and I begged my parents for lessons, and but I never really thought it was going to be my career. It was just something I always loved. And it was interesting how I was about to go to college. For me, it was like, oh my gosh, of course I'll study music because that's kind of what I've always done. But rather than studying music in school, I just decided that I was going to like make it fun again. And I went on this like journey to like discover my passion for the violin. And by so doing, that's kind of how I built my career. Was I started to just try to make it fun. I was like, I'm going to combine the violin with like beats. I'm going to try different styles of music. I'll try an electric violin. Okay, I'm going to try to add movement because I love dance. And so it was just kind of adding, costumes. What if I wore a fun costumes? And, like all these things, all these like random skills that I had developed through my life that all seemed so separate. Even video editing. I loved editing videos, and like throwing that into the mix. I kind of created this very like seemingly hodgepodge pile of things that I was able to turn into, oh my gosh, all these things could work together. But it literally started by just trying to invigorate a hobby again, and a passion by doing it in a way that, like, instead of doing it the way I've always been told to do it and play what was always put on a page in front of me, I'm going to do it in a way that it feels true to me. And that's kind of how it all started.
Wow, that is so cool because it like that just shows that you really innovated by thinking like, how can I make this different and how can I make it me? Because I think like when I've watched you and like watched your stuff, it's like I just genuinely feel like no one's you. Like you're so unique in what you do, and it's because you really gave yourself that creative freedom, which I think a lot of artists, sometimes struggle with, of like wanting to stay in the box and like being too afraid to take risks, out of fear of like it not working or, people not understanding it. And you've touched so many souls with your art. So it's really cool to hear that you essentially had to like take risks and like allow yourself to have that freedom in your art. So that's Super cool. And it sounds like you really figured it out early on, but if there was like one thing you could tell yourself when you were like younger as an aspiring artist, like what would you tell yourself?
I would have told myself to try to capture these feelings that you have now as like that young aspiring artist. Remember the magic that you're creating right now. Because at the time it felt so like just like grasping at straws. I've kind of like figured out my artist sound, but it was so long of a process to then try to get it heard by anybody as I like went to talent agencies and dropped off my little DVD saying, please believe in me. And I like hit up all these record labels and no one was interested. And it was like quite a process. And I remember playing in front of people at cafeterias. I was literally doing all these things to just trying to be heard. But the thing that I like wish I kind of recapture is that spirit that you have as like a young aspiring like artist or person, or like there's a certain drive that like is really magical, and it's also a bit of naivety. It's like, I didn't know that what I was setting out to do was actually impossible. And that naivety of like, I just believed that I could do it. And no matter what anyone told me, I was like, oh no, I know I can make this work. If I was there now, I don't think I would make it, because I've lost some of that like magic, and I've lost a little bit of that like belief that like in the impossible, you know. And it's something that I'm like actively trying to like get back, is that like spirit of that beginning artist, because that's a magical time. And some of the things that I manifested back when I was just starting and I didn't know any better, I didn't know things were impossible, some of those crazy things I manifested have come back in such interesting and specific ways that I'm like, I know that that's not a coincidence. Like that's a true manifestation of a dream that I had. And so I'm like actively trying to like recapture in a bottle that spirit.
Wow, that is so like that's so relatable to anybody, no matter what you're trying to pursue. Because that's something that I've even felt in like YouTube is like, whoa, I remember when I posted that first video of like, I had zero fears, because you really don't know. It's like you can't lose. You have absolutely nothing to lose. Whereas like when you start to kind of gain something, you're so afraid of losing that, that it hinders your freedom, because you aren't allowing yourself the same amount of creativity, and like you're not afraid of falling.
Now it's something that I like cherish when I feel that spirit of like the beginning Lindsey, and it like actually makes me excited, but manifesting and making big things happen. And so anybody who maybe feels like they're in the stage of like the struggling artist that's not being seen, like you have no idea the magic that you could be creating for your future right now by just believing, by persevering, and by just dreaming. Here, I'll tell you a story of like manifestation. When I was writing my second album, I was still a very small artist. And I remember I wrote a song, and it was the first song I'd ever written with lyrics on it. And the producer was like, who would be your dream person to sing this? And before he even finished asking, I was like, Amy Lee. I wrote this for Amy Lee. And she's this lead singer of Evanescence. She's like one of my favorite artists ever. And he was like, wow, cool. You know, we ended up getting somebody else to sing the song who I wouldn't replace her for the world. She's amazing and just absolutely killed it. But fast forward years later, because Amy Lee passed when we did ask her to sing that song back in like 2013 or something. But then fast forward like 6 years, I got asked to play on an Evanescence track, which led to co-headlining a tour with Evanescence. And Amy Lee suggested, she goes, hey, I think that we should play on each other's set. You come play a song on my set with me, I'll come sing a song on your set with you. And she's like, I was thinking that I could sing Shatter Me. And little did she know that's the song that I wrote for her 7 years prior to sing. And then I got to stand with her on stage in front of like 15,000 people a night and play the song that I wrote for her with her. Like, that's not a coincidence. Like, you never know when something will come back to you. And so like put things into the universe, dream them, believe them. And eventually, like in crazy ways, a lot of them will come back.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. It really does prove too that like your mindset, can be everything, and we can create a lot of our own limitations. Like if we believe something like, oh, I can't do this, or whatever it may be, like I'll never find love, or I'll never get this. It's like, that's just a mindset. And if you truly believe that, then that will be your reality. And vice versa. If you believe the opposite, then all of that can also come true. That is, oh my God, I got chills. That's cool. Okay, what was my next question? Oh, this is a fun one. If you didn't choose to pursue music as a career, what else would you have chosen?
You know, back in the day, I think I would have chosen, I actually originally went to school to be a filmmaker. Like I wanted to be a director. And then I ended up studying therapeutic recreation. So I was going to be like a recreational therapist for like troubled teens. And that's what I was working in like simultaneously when I was starting my YouTube channel. I was like a assistant to the recreational therapist. And so I'd probably be working at like treatment centers with teenagers.
Wow. That's like, I mean, that's a really cool backup.
I remember thinking that, and I know a lot of people are like, burn your backup plan. But to be honest, I think that works for some people, and I think that's great. For me, I needed a backup plan in order to really jump the way I did and put myself out there. And such a weird thing, like playing the violin and dancing and hoping to like tour the world with that. You know, I think I needed a backup plan, and it gave me stability. It made me be able to like jump knowing that I had a net.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever felt lost in your career, and how do you overcome this? Whether it's like kind of not knowing the direction, or like, I know for me, even people will be like, what do you expect to do in the next 5 years? And like, sometimes you may not know. So it's like, how do you kind of overcome those feelings when you feel a little lost and confused?
I felt that way several times, like many times, I should actually say. And I always think it's so funny when you've just released a huge project and then people are like, what's next for you? And you're like, I just gave you an entire album and like a huge body of work with a tour. Like, what's next? Like,
Yeah.
Give me a chance to breathe. And like, you feel like you have to like make up something grand. Like, well, I'm working on a film. Yes. Working on
project. Can't stop.
Yeah, I can't stop. But you know, and it's funny because recently, like my answer to that question is usually like, you know, I'm kind of in that place right now. I think a lot of people are, where it's like, I don't know what the next step is. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow half the time, because our world has all been shifted upside down. My tours just keep getting delayed. And so I think in those moments, I always try to like self-check myself before I like spiral and get confused and think, oh, where am I going? It's like, that's an okay feeling. Like in art, you know, you just kind of, sometimes the next step isn't known. And if you think about every actor, anybody who's in like, or even every business, like there will be chapters where you're like thriving and succeeding, or like an actor's filming a huge film. But what about when they finish that film? I bet they don't always go immediately into their next casting. Like, but no one ever talks about those times where a lot of us sit in between projects, kind of searching for either the next gig or the next like wave of inspiration. You know, and I find that's where I'm at right now, is like, I'm just feeling very uninspired, and I'm still like writing. No matter how uninspired I feel at this moment, if I just keep showing up, reaching out for inspiration and trying new things, like little by little, it will come. And it was terrifying the first time I felt this, and it still kind of is, but I know I'll get through it. So I think that's my best advice for anybody that's going through it, is like, you'll get through it. Like, you will find your next step if you just keep showing up.
Yeah. Are there any things that you do to like inspire your creativity?
Yeah, sometimes it's like really forcing myself to just take a little bit of me time and be okay with it, like a non-shameful me time. You know, like not the kind where you're like, oh, I should be working. I should, you know, everybody, you know, it's like, no, like really like go be with family. That's always a really great way for me. And I know your family's super important to you. So sometimes it's just going to be with family. Other times it's like, let's try something new. Like whether it's, oh, I'm going to buy a pair of roller skates and I'm going to go down to the beach and like roller skate once a week, because that's something I've never done before. Or, you know, I'm going to do something really hard. Like I've started to learn to produce, even though it's so intimidating to me. But it's like, I think it's going to start to make me think in different ways. Whether I turn into the next, you know, Calvin Harris or not is still to be known. But
I could see it.
Yes, it just could happen. So look out, everybody. But more than that, it's like trying to just stretch my mind and make it think in a new way. Because if for some reason right now, the way I've been doing it is not inspiring me. So let's do something in a different way.
That's a really good point too. And I think something I've also learned as, you know, a creative is that sometimes you may feel like, oh, going out with friends or like doing something adventurous is a waste of time because I'm not working.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I've actually left, like, you know, I've gone on a trip or I've done something out of my comfort zone. It can give you so much inspiration in your work, even if it's not really technically related to what you do. Just being around people and trying something new, you can tap into different parts of your emotions that can then like inspire your craft. So Yeah, I totally agree. Like giving yourself the okay and getting rid of that guilty feeling of doing things that aren't necessarily always pertaining to work, because it's so important. Also, just for mental health, which as an artist, I think that balance can always be really tricky.
Totally. No, that's such a good point.
What has been your proudest moment in your career? I know you've had a lot, but like, is there something that like stands out to you that you're like, whoa, I'm so proud of myself for that?
The one that comes to mind first is like so silly in a way. I think it was a moment where I proved something to myself. Last year, I was just feeling so uninspired, so I decided to try something that I'd always like been curious about and always wanted to try, and that was I learned to do an aerial art called hair hanging. And it's where you actually tie your hair up into like a pony knot on top of your head. You braid it into a carabiner ring, and then you clip that in, and you literally like spin around and do like aerial acrobatic by hanging by your hair.
Yes, I saw your video on that. I was like, how is your hair not ripping out?
Right? And I still have hair, amazingly enough. And yeah, the hair actually doesn't rip out. But it was the most painful like experience. Like it was 3 months I trained, and I'll never do it again. I did it for the goal. I wanted to put it in my Christmas show, and I did. And I decided that it wasn't for me after that. But I stuck with something that was so hard, and I felt like it was impossible every single time I would clip in. I just put the pressure on it. I'd just like start to cry, and I'd be like, I can't all do this. But it had been such a hard year, and all my touring had been ripped away. I just felt like my avenues of creativity had been taken from me. And as silly as it is, I felt like, I had started it because I wanted to do something spectacular for my fans, since I felt like I couldn't tour and I couldn't do anything spectacular. I wanted to try. But then it turned into more than that. It was like, I need to prove to myself in this year that I can still do hard things, even though I feel like a lot's been taken. And I did it. And I didn't give up, and I will always have that video, but it was a moment of like, I can't believe I made it through that. And, again, it's like kind of going back to that whole like manifesting and believing in yourself and the magic that we can create within ourselves. It's amazing what we can do when we just believe that it's possible, like literally mind over matter. And so I think that was just a really good experience for me to remind myself, like, I can make things happen. I can do hard things. I can believe things into existence. If I could learn to do that and hang by my hair and play the violin, like I got my magic back.
Yeah, that was surreal. I like literally saw that video. I was like, I do not know how she's doing this right now, but she is Lindsey Stirling, so I am not really surprised. How do you maintain a positive mindset?
Positive mindset. Hold on, I'm going to show you. I actually have this gratitude journal I write in every night. It sits by my bed. And
cool.
I write 3 things in it every night. And I've been doing that for the last, this is like my 3rd year doing that. And I can't even tell you, it made a big difference in my life to like just end every day by like reviewing the day. It's like I've always kind of done that through prayer, but to like sit there and have a moment of just gratitude and writing it down, I felt like it like worked a muscle in my brain that actually like, and we both went to Tony Robbins years ago. I know he talks about that, like how like the neural pathways you use more often, they get stronger. They become the path of least resistance for your brain. Rather than like being pessimistic, it starts to be optimistic because you've exercised that muscle of your brain. And I actually noticed that I started and still do like continuously start to just automatically look for the good more than seeing the negative as a result of that. And also like I have these little cards that I make that have like all these things written on them, just like notes and thoughts. I look through these every night before I go to sleep, and they're just full of goals and things I want to like put out there into the world, or like things I want to work on myself. And I review it every night, almost as like a little check-in to like get my mind focused on, and a lot of it is like self-love stuff. I remind myself like where I want to be every single night before I go into my dreams. And that's helped me a lot.
I love that. That is so true, because I feel like when you intentionally sit down and be like, I'm going to list the things I'm grateful for, you start to notice things that you kind of take for granted. Like
Absolutely.
it's like, whoa, I have a house, or like I have food and I have great friends and family. And such a really good point that for me has also helped with so many areas, and even like in personal confidence of like reminding myself not to ridicule myself about appearance or a lot of different things. Cause it's like, I should just be grateful I have a body, or like I have,
Right.
so many things. Like even to be alive is also, it's the chances are so rare. So it's like,
Mm.
it makes it really difficult to be unhappy when you remember all of the things that you're so lucky to have. Wow, I'm gonna go get a journal now.
Do it. Everybody should seriously do that. It's like seriously one of the easiest ways that I have significantly upped my happiness. So
So cool. I love that. So obviously, insecurities are an inevitable thing, that we all experience. So I was wondering, when those moments pop up for you, how do you handle that? Whether it's like, insecurities in yourself, physically, mentally, career, do you have ways of handling that?
gosh, insecurities are so real. And one of the things that I've noticed I do a lot is I like actually audibly talk to myself a lot, whether I'm insane or whether it's brilliance, I don't know. But I actually noticed it when I was editing like a vlog when I realized how many times, or like it was some behind the scenes footage of like a shoot I was a part of. And I couldn't believe how many times I was like, you got this, you can do this, you can do this. Like I was like, I do that all the time. And since realizing it, I've caught myself doing it so much. And I think that self-talk has just become such a big part of any time. And I think it all started years ago when I was actually really, really sick. I was very anorexic and unhealthy and hated myself. And my journey to recovery began with self-talk. Once I realized I had a problem, I was like, started listening to the way I talked to myself. And I was like shocked and horrified at the things that I would say all the time, just like constantly streaming through my mind. And so I started talk back to it and say, no, I don't deserve that. Like I am beautiful. I am strong. I am smart. I deserve, like all the things. And at first it was literally like this, like almost this pushback battle in my own brain of trying to like counteract these horrible voices. And then it turned into less of a battle, and like the positive voices became a little bit stronger. And so now it is like when those negative voices come in and they start to be like, you can't do this. You're not good enough. Like you're actually not, you're kind of ugly, like whatever it is. I think I audibly a lot of times say like, I can do this. I got this. I love myself, and it's because I've done it for years, because I was once so bad and sick and unhealthy with it. And it's now like quite a practice that I do all the time.
I love that. That's so great, because it really can, like things that we repeatedly tell ourselves, it just kind of becomes a habit where you get so used to having that language towards yourself. So once you kind of like change that language, I'm sure that, it makes a huge difference. What's one experience in your life that you feel like has shaped you the most, whether it's like a good experience or a bad experience, that you feel like has really helped you shape yourself as a person?
I would say honestly, going through anorexia was probably one of the biggest ones. And I don't hold that with a badge of honor in any way. Like I almost hesitate to even say that. But the reason I do want to say it is because I felt broken, when I realized I was anorexic, especially because, as I mentioned before, I was studying in school to be a therapist for girls in treatment centers who are struggling with things. Like a huge one that we would learn about that most of these girls were dealing with was anorexia and eating disorders. And when I finally accepted and realized that I had one, and then I realized, oh my gosh, this is debilitating. It has taken over my life. And I just remember feeling so broken and so alone and hopeless of like, how could I ever hope to help somebody when I can't even help myself? And I remember being so unhappy and like hating myself, like to the purest intention of the word. Like I hated myself. And so the reason I say that this really is one of the most important things that shaped me is because it allowed me to learn how to overcome my own mind and how to write a new story for myself. Because I think that the narratives we live are the narratives we've written ourselves. But that was the huge thing for me to learn. It was like, I'm living the narrative that has been written in my life partially by me, so I can rewrite it then. It's going to take time, but I can learn to write a new narrative and a new belief. I can rewrite how I feel about myself. And I believe that 100%, no matter how broken anyone feels, like you don't have to stay there. It's going to take work and effort and time, but like I'm 100% a different person than I was back then. And now as I face challenges of insecurities, of discouragement, I have this wealth of like tools that I've built, this like tool belt of things that I know how to do that allow me to get past them much faster because I put so much work in earlier.
Wow, I love that. And I love that you're sharing it as well, because it's a great reminder for people who may also be experiencing that right now or going through something similar. So I really appreciate you talking about that. How do you overcome fear in your, personal life, dating, career, whatever it may be?
Gosh, I think it's probably different for every fear. Sometimes if I know I'm afraid of something, it almost has turned into like, ooh, I have to try it. I have to do it. It's kind of become that. If I know I'm afraid of something, it's like, oh, all of a sudden that's the reason I'm not doing it. That's the reason I've been avoiding it. It's because I'm afraid of it. Like, oh, I'm not going to handle that. I cannot live with knowing that I did not do something just because I was afraid. I think just like anything, it's practice. Like the more you take risks, the more you're okay with taking risks. I've failed big time. Some pretty key moments in my life. Like I have fallen on my face in my career, in love, in all areas. I have fallen on my face. I've somehow gotten up every time, no matter how much it hurt. I remember the first time honestly thinking I could never get on a stage again, or I could never go put myself out there like that again. That was too painful and too humiliating. I got kicked off America's Got Talent in front of millions of people with like a big red X. I can't even describe the amount of humiliation that I felt in those moments. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing that again. I'm not going to play that violin ever again. But I did. And so once you've fallen down a couple times and you've gotten up, you start to realize it's always worth it to go, because I got up and I kept moving forward and it led to the rest of my career. I'm such a huge, huge proponent of trusting the gut, trusting that and whether people see it as God and the spirit or their heart or the universe guiding them, we feel like little tugs and pulls and these things. And whenever I feel like I'm getting a sign or a guidance or my gut or God, when I feel that I'm being pulled to something, I almost don't dare not go for it, because we know when we're supposed to do something in our hearts. And if you feel that, that will never lead you astray in the long run. So always trust your gut, because it will become more powerful than the fear.
That's what I've kind of started to look at fear as, is if you fear something, first of all, obviously you really want it, because if you didn't care about it, it would have no emotion for you. So the fact that it scares you is a good sign that you should do it. And also it's fear can just propose so many opportunities to grow. If you would have gotten that yes at America's Got Talent, you probably wouldn't be where you are right now. You maybe wouldn't have exercised your independence as an artist, or who knows, but
absolutely.
What an opportunity that was for you and for everybody in your life. If you have something that's scary, or you get a no from somebody, it's that's an opportunity to get stronger, and that's really exciting. Okay, what do you love most about yourself?
Okay, I've been so fortunate in my life to have amazing friends. Every stage of my life, I have the most amazing people that have stuck with me. And so I think I'm a good friend. You can't build a relationship one-sided. And so I love that I have so many good friends in my life, and I think I'm a good friend.
Oh, I love that. She's a lover.
I'm a lover. I really am.
And I saw that when we lived together too. I was like, Lindsey's a real one. It didn't feel like we were just roommates. It was it was girl time. It was it felt like more family. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I can confirm you are a great friend. Ooh, we have the speed round. So a few more questions. These are just some simple ones. We've gotten through all of the deep stuff. So here we go. Favorite color?
I've become a pale pink. I love that rosy pale mauve pink. That's new. That's a new favorite color.
Ooh, I love that. Love some pink. What's your favorite snack? I'm excited to hear this one.
Lately, toast with jam. That's all I want.
Simple.
Yeah. Toast with jam every night. I have to have my toast with jam before bed.
That's a good one. Favorite piece of jewelry?
I love I love your jewelry line. I love the little simple pendants that you can layer. And I have one with dad written on it. And it's actually my dad's thumbprint. My dad passed away several years ago. And so I have his thumbprint on a little necklace. It's a little pendant, just like what you're wearing.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. What's one random thing you're grateful for? Just like top of the head.
Top of the head. My dog Luna. She is my ride or die. You have a dog?
Yes,
Oh.
we love Luna. I'm a Luna fan. Listen, Luna was my roommate too. She's a queen.
I was just gonna say, you would, whenever Luna would come marching down the stairs, you would say, "Queen."
She was a queen. She had a queen attitude. She knew what she wanted. She's obsessed with you. And she like doesn't, she's like, I only like Lindsey.
She would only come out of the room if I was home. She's such a weirdo.
Literally, I remember whenever you were gone and I was like home alone, I was like, where's Luna? She would just be under your bed. She's like, I'm just waiting for my guardian to come back. Okay, sweatpants or jeans?
Oh, sweatpants. When did I last even wear jeans or see jeans?
I think I already know the answer to this one, but dogs or cats?
Ooh, dogs all the way.
Dogs, yeah. Tea or coffee?
I'm actually like neither. I don't ever drink either. Weirdo.
Wow, good for you.
I mean, I love hot chocolate though, so I'd say.
Honestly, that's the better one. I mean, I should have put that on here, but yeah, that's better. Singing or dancing?
Oh, dancing. Dancing is just so fun.
We both did Dancing with the Stars. I wish we would have been on the same season. That would have been so fun.
That would have been a blast. Because, I mean, did you love being on the show?
I did. It felt like everybody, even though it's a competition, it did not feel that way because everybody was like a family. And it genuinely, I got very sad when the show ended because it's like you get so used to that routine that it's kind of heartbreaking when it's over. Okay, last question. One word to describe your style.
Quirky. My little hats and
I love that. Anytime I see you, I feel like your outfits are always so unique and cool. Like you always like have fun colors and patterns and it's really cool style.
Thank you.
Well, those are all my questions. So
well, you're such a great interviewer, especially because I'm sure you're probably used to being the interviewee, but like you lead a great chat. And I felt weird. I was like, I want to ask her questions too. But
this was cool because it really just felt like we were talking. Thank you so much for doing this, Lindsey. I love you. And we got to talk soon. And thanks everybody for watching.
And I can't wait to get my jewelry. I'm so excited. Yay! I love your line. You're doing such a great job with it.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been really cool. Yeah, that's it. So
all right. Mwah! Talk to you later.
Bye.